This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. It's a regular Town of Queensbury Town Board meeting. It's June 19th, 2017. It's 7 p.m. Would you all please rise and join Councilman Doug Irish in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two presentations tonight. One is Alan Van Tassel and Morgan Lane from Stored Tech are going to give you some information about how we should go forward in storing our records. We do have options: cloud versus hardware. What is the best option? Well, that's a decision that we have to make. We as a board and we as the public. But for going forward, it's very important that the town's records be preserved. So, giving a presentation, Alan Van Tassel and Morgan Lane. Please come forward from Stored Tech. And Town Board, if we'll step aside, allow them to give their presentation, and then we'll come back after the presentation. And I understand, too, that if the public wishes to ask some questions, that you're open for that?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you.
So if it's okay, I work a little better when I'm standing. So what I wanted to do was take the town board members and the public through a presentation that we've been working on for a period of time with the town. And this is a culmination of a lot of work from a lot of different people over the last 12 or 13 months. And really what we have going on is not uncommon at the town of Queensbury than it is in any other business. IT infrastructure is used to run the technology needs of the town. And on a cycle basis of some sort, that hardware usually ages out. And the town is at that point right now. Their core infrastructure, their servers and their storage have gone end of life, and they're in need of replacing it. And when we took over becoming the outsourced IT department for the town, we had brought this to their attention. This goes back about a year. And they said, well, what do we design? What's your recommendations? And we said, well, in order for us to design the right solution for you, we need to go through an exercise and answer a couple key questions. So I'll go through that rather quickly to kind of tell you how we got where we are. There's some other things going on. There's ongoing needs for compliance, not only best practice recommendations that the town should implement around compliance, but there's mandates from the state. There's currently a lack of a disaster recovery plan or a business continuity plan in place for the town, and the town was interested in eliminating that gap. That doesn't mean that they don't have a good backup, but backup's just data, and if you can't do anything with it, then you're not really going to keep your business running. So that's the third thing, and then you've got this evolution of computing going on, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So one of the things we said to the town when we were having this conversation here, before we can design any kind of solution, we need to ask you to answer a couple questions. What is your RPOs and your RTOs? And they said, well, what is that? And we said, okay, well, we're going to have to start by baselining the people that make decisions with some education. So we got together with all the department heads off-site. We took them through a workshop of understanding what business continuity was And we'll walk through that, a summary of that presentation in just a minute, which will help you get an understanding of where we're at. So we did an educational seminar with the department heads. We level set everybody's base understanding, and we move forward with it. And so what we were talking about mostly was DR. Before we could design a solution, we had to understand those variables. And so as I mentioned a minute ago, DR is really just backup unless you have some plan. So again, like I said, all the information that the systems retain, that's information of the town, that all the different departments use to run the business, is just data. And if you have a good backup, that's fine. But if you lost sight, or for a variety of different possible reasons, unless you have some plan to bring the applications back up, it's just data. So we went through that exercise with a lot of the department heads, and we helped them understand what RPOs and RTOs mean. So RPOs is recovery point objective. That's how far back in time do you need to go to get your data back, or another way of looking at that is how much data can you afford to lose. And RTO is how much downtime can you really afford to have. And so we had to get the town to help us understand what their RPOs and their RTOs were before we could design any solution. And the reason that that's important, I'm going to skip that slide because it really says the same thing again, is that it has a direct impact on cost. So in order to design a solution and be able to give them a budgetary number, we had to first understand what their RPOs and their RTOs were. And so there's a direct correlation between the solution you design and the cost. So we got all the department heads together, we took them through an exercise, we collected the data, and this was what they told us. The different departments, as you can see on the chart, defined numbers that ran from 4 hours of RPO in the second to last, but the average is around 24 hours of data they could afford to lose, that they could rebuild that data if they had to, and they could be down for a day, some were 2 days, some had no, the historian, water and sewer runs somewhat independently, so there were some departments, but those were key numbers. In order to design a solution, we needed the town to tell us what those two numbers were, because that's what you need to know in order to design the right solution. So as many of the board members know, we are an outsourced managed service provider, and we provide service to the town of Queensbury, and we have now done that for quite a while. And when we came in, we promised that we'd be good consultants and good trusted advisors. And so this was an example of that. We could have simply just sold them a solution in the beginning, and it would have replaced what they've done. And they've done that on a cycle basis now, probably every 3 to 5 years. They're replacing all their hardware, and then the hardware goes into life, and then they replace it. And that's a vicious cycle. With the technology that's available today, through the cloud or someone else's hardware sitting somewhere else. It's really not in the cloud, right? It's just someone else's hardware, and then you pay for it as a service. That option should be considered as an alternative to the same cycle. So that took us to a point where we had decision time, and that's where we needed to get to. So moving up again, we identified the core infrastructure that was end of life. We had a solution that we could design. We understood the compliance requirements, so the solution would meet all those. We understood that there was a current lack of any kind of business continuity in place, but we had good backup solution, so we knew we could design a solution around that. And we had a good understanding, as we do, because this is the business we're in, how technology is evolving. And so this is where the town's at, and this is the purpose of this meeting. Do you do the traditional buy it again? On-premise, it's a CapEx spend, it's tax dollars, money spent to infrastructure, and you buy it all again? Or do you look to explore moving over to a cloud solution where you're buying hardware or infrastructure as a service, and you're paying for it on a monthly basis, as opposed to buying hardware and then 3 to 5 years again, buying it again, and then doing that cycle over and over? And so that was the solution that we were looking at. So you got this typical CapEx spend. If we go back to this slide here, on the left is your CapEx spend on-premise solution, and that's the first one we're going to look at. So we put together a solution that meets the needs of the town. This was the solution that we were looking at. It came in at around $180,000, $88,000, $190,000. And that was to put new infrastructure in at the town, as well as matching hardware in an off-site location to give them a failover location in the unlikely event that they lost this site. And that's a traditional capital expenditure. We can get into the details, but that's one option. We're at the fork in the road of that, or do you look toward moving toward the cloud? And so this, is, in contrast, is not buying infrastructure, buying it as a service on someone else's hardware, sitting somewhere else, in this case, Microsoft's Azure government cloud, and you pay for it on a monthly basis. And so you can see the top half of the sheet is the breakdown spend of about $7,800 a month for the infrastructure as a service. And then there's a little bit of hardware in that second section, and then there's the professional services for StoredTech to do the migration. You saw that same cost on the other sheet. But here's what we said, and this brings us to the next fork in the road. In order to determine whether or not the town can operate in the cloud, we'd have to mandate that we take the town through a proof of concept. We would want to take a handful of users, we said up to 10 users, up to 5 different applications, and we'd want to go run a proof of concept to make sure that the theory that we have executed on in many other businesses work well here with the town. We're partnered with Microsoft. We're a tier 2 cloud service provider with them. We're one of only 400 in the world today that have that accreditation. We have a tight partnership. They're going to pay for part of it. It's a $15,000 proof of concept. We're asking the town to pay $5,000. Microsoft will pay $5,000, and StoredTech will contribute $5,000 as an attempt, as a way to make this proof of concept affordable for the town. It's in our best interest, the town's best interest, and that makes it the taxpayer's best interest to make sure before we commit into a solution like this that it works. And the truth of the matter is it also is important that the town employees who have to use the systems are comfortable with it. And so the purpose of being asked to come back here tonight, I believe, was to explain to the public what we've explained to the board members and department heads, and to get to this decision point of this next fork in the road. Is the town committed to move forward in exploring moving over to a hardware as a service solution, i.e. cloud? Or do we want to stay in the same model we've been in, where we're spending that CapEx over and over and you keep refreshing it? There's some advantages of the cloud. It's really an analogy I can use is the cloud is this word that scares a lot of people. It's really just hardware in somebody else's data center. It's just not here. So you pick up the inherent value of no longer having to have the added heating and the added cooling requirements that we have here. And if we were staying with the capital expenditure model, we'd be doing that in 2 buildings instead of 1. And it's really a good comparison as to what is being called utility computing. The ability to kind of turn up and turn down this hardware as a service that sits in somebody else's infrastructure when you're not using it. And that's where we see some opportunity for some substantial savings on the numbers that we presented. Those are conservatively high without going in and after a period of time understanding where we can turn up or turn down. The majority of the town doesn't operate after a certain time every day, unlike other private sector businesses. We can turn down the light switch and you pay for it as a utility is really what you're doing. So that's the point we're at. We've taken department heads through the exercise, board members or some of them in the committees, and we're at the point where the town needs to make a decision on whether they want to move forward with a proof of concept to explore refreshing your hardware, which you have to do in a cloud solution, or whether we're going to go with the traditional capital expend. So with that, what questions can I answer for anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Would you recommend requiring any redundancy with a broadband provider if you do this sort of thing?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. The better answer is we already have it in place. So in an ongoing effort to make sure that this building and the town can function effectively, the town has a primary internet provider, and off a second, different, not off the same pole, but coming from a different direction, we've got a secondary internet connection. So we actually use their secondary internet connection for their guest wireless, but can fail production over to it in the unlikely event. So yeah, you become more dependent on the internet if you're going to put your stuff somewhere else, right? And so for that reason, yeah, we've got fiber connections from 2 different carriers. Good question. Yes, sir.
The RPOs and the RTOs, like department, they seem to be going through when you had 24 hours. It seemed to be a common link. Is that coincidental? They would all be the same, being different departments?
I think that when we went through the exercise, we weren't looking to define it down to the hour, but either it was a day, or it was 2 days, or it was 3. So in most cases, the answer was a day. I think some first came back with responses of hours that were much smaller, but we asked them to round to the day. That's a pretty common number. Yes, sir.
If the town went with the cloud, it's approximately like $95,000 a year. Is that what it is?
First year.
First year. And how many years is that?
So that's the beauty of utility computing. You go that model as long as you want to go. It's a month-to-month agreement. We can contract for a longer period of time, but you have the ability to scale up and scale down, and you have the ability to commit for a short period of time. We wouldn't want to go in with the intent of it not being a long-term, at least a year or 2. I would like to see it be forever, because I think it's a good model, but it has to work for the town. But you're not committed for a long period of time.
But in the other way that the town is doing it now, that is, what was that, 180,000, was it?
188, 190,000 to refresh their existing hardware and layer in a secondary location to fail over to in the unlikely event that we lost the first location. And then 3 years, 4 or 5 again, you'll do that again. On a 10-year return, it starts to break even. It's going to be less expensive to do the CapEx model right out of the box. But you start to run that out over a performer for a number of years, and the other model starts to look better. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be discussions, or do you know, with the town moving in a direction, so I'm assuming right now there's laptops and there's towers to Chromebooks, because really is there a need to have the individual hard drives if everything that they're supposed to be doing is backed up on the cloud? More like a Google platform.
Yeah, so another good question. The beauty of the solution is you're taking the desktop and you're serving it up out of the data center, right? So the other cost savings that the town could possibly incur is that they can extend the life of their existing hardware, because it's no longer dependent on having to be refreshed as frequently. Or you can start to look at thin clients or things like Chromebooks going forward, which are more cost effective, because you're taking the load off of the device, right? So you serve the desktop out of the data center and it becomes a lot more flexible. Give me some more good ones.
You'd have to pay. Insurance. Could this possibly help the town's insurance as far as liability, and again, moving from having capital expenditures and having to insure those to it becoming more operational type expenses?
Yeah, I'd let the town comment on that. I'll tell you that I see that in the private sector, and the view of other municipalities is that's a valid point, right? You no longer have infrastructure here that has high capital expenditure and a lot of asset tied to it. You have those other savings, such as power and cooling, and so there could easily be savings on the insurance side besides utility side. You got another free one in there, come on. Board members or public, does anybody else have any other questions? Yes, sir.
If we decide to go with the cloud, is the estimated cost of the migration, the total migration? Do you know?
Yes. $20,000. That's after a proof of concept is done. Now, that's an estimated number based on our experience, and we would certainly revisit that after a proof of concept was completed.
So RPO versus RTO and CapEx versus OpEx. If we go with the OpEx, will that reduce the RPO and RTO?
Substantially. So, well,
What's the minimum?
well, in the Microsoft Azure platform that we're putting on, you have 0 RPO and 0 RTO because we're in redundant cloud. So with the exception of variables beyond our control, we lost the building and you lost both your internet connections and your employees had no place to work, right? But if we're talking about the service being served up out of the data center, there's no way that the town or even many small businesses or large businesses can afford to put the money into that infrastructure that a company like Microsoft would put into theirs. And so the layers of redundancy, all your data resides in 2 different data centers, as we talked in our workshops, in 2 different geos. And so your data is real-time available, replicated across 2 different data centers. So on the cloud solution, you're at a 0 RPO, 0 RTO, assuming your infrastructure locally stays up and functional. Yes, Supervisor.
In trying to do the utility computing and cut these costs, we can reduce our demand levels on the weekends. Can we also reduce that on evenings?
Yeah, so that's the other variable that, as I mentioned, we haven't factored in here, but we would certainly look to turn back the compute power in the hours after we have a baseline understanding when people are and aren't using it. You're not going to turn it all off because you've got some data processing happening. We've got backup jobs that are running. There's some processing. You've got third-party applications integrated with your GIS from the public through the website. So we're never going to be able to turn it all off, but there's without a doubt an opportunity to dial back the consumption of the compute.
How far back does the detail go on each department?
There's no data that I'm aware of, at least on the technology side. I'm not going to speak to paper, where we're deleting any data. If anybody's deleting data on some sort of cycle that is beyond the years that are required to keep it, then that would be a town question to answer. But we have enough storage capacity planned in this solution to meet all requirements of data retention.
And not only that, Alan and Carol, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we've actually scanned all the paperwork that we have in storage downstairs, the electronic files as well for archives. So I don't know if we completely scanned everything, but we're in the process of scanning stuff.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Long ways from having everything in there.
Yeah, long ways from being paperless of the old data, but project underway to do that. I mean, we've got a problem today because infrastructure, as I've said from the beginning, and I've been saying for a year, we need to get it done. We need to get this project moving. You're out of space now. We continue to find ways to rob Peter to pay Paul so that you don't go down. But we need to move forward in 1 or 2 of the directions here. We either need to replace the hardware and get you back on track, or we need to move off with this proof of concept to determine whether or not that's a possible solution that makes sense for the town. Yes, sir.
Why Microsoft? Why can't we put out an RFP and get somebody else?
You can. I don't know if I would pick anybody other than Microsoft or possibly AWS. I'll tell you why we chose Microsoft. We believe them to be the leader in this space, and they have government plans, and the states and local governments are champions of that. I don't think I'd look to Google as a solution, but there are others, and then there's other private cloud solution offerings from other carriers. But one of the values that you have with us, and this isn't to me to sell StoreTech, but it's an impact on taxpayers at the end of the day. We are your IT department, so we know the environment, we understand the applications, we've helped support what you have here, so it's much lighter of a lift for us to move to one of those other solutions, and we don't sell those other solutions. We sell Microsoft Azure. You're not going to find a substantial cost savings. You're looking at finding another vendor to maybe do it. That's the small part of that cost. You're going to find AWS and Microsoft as two to compare to be very comparable. Can't predict, but I suspect we'll continue to see those costs go down. I didn't factor that variable in. Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to assume, what would change as far as the contract between StoreTech and the town moving? I think there would be some savings as well there, considering again that you're not dealing with a hard infrastructure and you're dealing with something that's actually for a third party who has responsibility as well.
Yeah, so as we shared with the town, there'd be some cost savings, but somebody still has to support it, right? We're still the administrators of the network, right? So you still have all the administration. You're still responsible for all your patching. You're still responsible for all your security. The fact that we get past this need to replace hardware today, which I already just acknowledged, is we're kind of spending a little cycles here and there, Robin, Peter, pay Paul. So we'll get to a point where you've got a more stable environment. In either of these two solutions, the CapEx that we proposed or the cloud, I think the town would realize that same savings. We need to get the infrastructure replaced with something that's more robust and more reliable. So whether it be the NetApp solution sitting on some hardware and replication, or whether it be in the cloud, both of those the town would be able to start to see reduced costs. We still have the end users to support. And we still have to protect those assets, and we still have to, whether they're Chromebooks or not, we still have to take care of that one point where the majority of vulnerability is, and that's unfortunately with end users. Did that answer your question? What other questions can I answer?
Well, I'm sure there'll be more forthcoming, but I think you did a very good job at introducing to the public the concepts and where we are. We need to go to a place where our records are preserved and assured of being preserved. I mean, take, for example, if something, our servers are located, what, highway department in here?
Our servers are here, backup data in the highway department.
So if something happens in this complex, what happens to all our data and records?
It's gone. Yeah, well, depending, you run the risk of it being gone. You don't meet what would be good recommended best practice for off-site storage of data.
You shouldn't tell people where your second thing even is. Thank you, Harrison. All right, but the point being is that in order to assure our record keeping and assure our compliance with what New York State wants, we have to do something.
You do, yes.
Any other questions for Morgan and/or Alan? All right. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Alan.
You're quite welcome. If there are, reach out to us.
Okay. Let's turn the lights on briefly. And town board members are sitting down because we have another presentation before us. But I have to go through the formalities. So we're going to have a public hearing tonight. And so if Town Clerk Caroline Barber would explain to the public what the public hearing is about tonight.
This is a public hearing that was advertised to be held regarding resolution authorizing submittal of a New York State Office of Community and Renewal, CDBG, Community Planning Grant application and making determination of type 2 action under SECR.
All right, so what we're going to have is, after the presentation, Stu Baker, our senior planner, is going to give a presentation to explain to you what we would like to do if the board approves this and the public thinks it's a good idea, that we would like to renew our CDBG, and I know that's acronyms, but what that means is Community Development Block Grant. And our community, it's for community planning. And Stu's going to explain this to you, so I asked Stu to be here tonight. And he's also going to suggest that this is a seeker type 2, which means it needs no further seeker review. But I'll have more on this later. I'll allow Stu to go ahead with his presentation.
Thank you very much. All right. Good evening. I am Stu Baker, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department, and tonight we're holding the first of two public hearings that are required through the Community Development Block Grant Program. This first public hearing provides an opportunity for citizen and town board input. I'll be outlining the CDBG application categories for the currently available funds and providing a recommendation on the grant application I believe we should apply for. If a grant is awarded, a second public hearing is held during the project to provide an update to the public. The New York State Community Development Block Program is authorized by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1971. These are federal funds that come through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And in New York State, they're administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal. That's actually a division within the Department of Homes and Community Renewal. The New York State CDBG program provides assistance to eligible towns, cities, villages with population under 50,000, and counties with an area population that exceed 200,000. The national objective for the Community Development Block Grant Program is at its core fairly succinct. The development of viable communities by providing decent housing in a suitable living environment and expanding economic opportunities, principally for persons of low and moderate income. Now, the federal act and regulations describe low and moderate income person as being a member of a household whose income is less than 80% of the area median income for the household size. In Queensbury right now, for all household sizes, our median household income is about $69,000. And that's actually a 2015 figure. CDBG projects require that at least 51% of the beneficiaries of a grant program qualify as low and moderate income. The New York State has been transitioning over the last 5 years to doing all their grant applications through what's called the CFA, the Consolidated Funding Application. And round 7 just opened up on May 1st and continues through July 28th. For the Community Development Block Grant Program, there are 4 categories of funding that are currently open during this round: public infrastructure, public facilities, micro enterprise, and community planning. Later this summer, we are expecting New York State to put out a notice of funding available for CDBG housing funds. I'll go through briefly what those 4 funding categories cover. Public infrastructure covers things like drinking water systems, sewer systems, stormwater management, as well as the public works category, which covers public facilities, as well as publicly owned utilities. Public facilities would be addressing construction or renovation of public facilities that serve low and moderate income or special needs populations, such as senior centers, child care centers, and also removal of architectural barriers for the disabled in publicly owned facilities. Micro enterprise is also known better as the small business program. awards funds to the applicant, in this case a municipality, that the applicant then can grant to a subrecipient business for the uses as noted there. This is actually the program that the town used in 2013 when we received a $60,000 community development block grant to assist Davidson Brothers with machinery purchases. Community planning covers community need assessment for the 3 categories noted on the screen, as well as preliminary engineering reports. Under community needs assessment, public facilities actually includes, under the state's program, the provision of affordable housing. Since 2001, the town has received quite a lot of community development block grant funding. And as you can see, 1.2 million of that was for housing rehabilitation, for owner-occupied single-family homes. We received community planning funds in 2003 of $25,000, and there's the 2013 economic development funds that I previously mentioned. The 2003 community planning funds were actually used to create the town's affordable housing strategy. This was done with the assistance of Shelter Planning and Development and the Chazen companies. At about 104 pages, it was chock full of data, over 39 tables of data and 7 appendices. The town, since 2003, this was completed in December of 2003, and since that time, the town has used this affordable housing strategy as really the policy and data basis for supporting our applications to fund the affordable housing rehab program. Here is a list of all the grants the town has received since 2004 for the affordable housing rehab program. Home and CDBG funds are federal funds. New York State Affordable Housing Corporation is New York State funding. And as you can see, it's over $2.4 million, all of which has gone into our owner-occupied single-family home rehab program. When you include a CDBG grant that we actually received in 2001, which was another $400,000. The town has actually assisted over 113 homes in town. Majority of those have been in West Glens Falls. There's been about 20 homes assisted in South Queensbury, and the remainder were on a few scattered sites town-wide. We'll be finishing the 2014 home grant this summer. In fact, we'll be closing that up by August. Once that is done, that will bring to an end what's been a 16-year relationship between the town and Shelter Planning and Development, a local community development consulting firm. They have assisted us with operating our housing rehab program, with the grant applications, as well as with the grant administration. That business is closing up as they finish out their current contracts with municipal clients, and this puts us at a interesting crossroads. We'll be done with our currently available funding to support the rehab program. Shelter Planning will no longer be able to assist us. It's an opportune time for the town to revisit and, in fact, perhaps do a new affordable housing strategy. Consequently, it's my recommendation to the town board that the town apply for CDBG community planning funds in the current CFA round to fund a new affordable housing strategy. The town would have to commit to a cash match of 5% of the total project cost. We can apply for up to $50,000. Applications are due July 28th of this year. If awarded, we would have 14 months from the execution of the grant contract with the state to complete that study. And the idea would be that we would contract out to consultants for assistance in completing that study. I'm also recommending that the town keep an eye out for a notice of funding available, which is expected later this summer, for the CDBG and home programs. Again, those are both federal programs, and that we consider at that time an application to one of those sources to continue our housing rehab program. We continue to carry a waiting list for this program of between 30 and 40 eligible households, and I continue to field 3 to 4 phone calls a month for this program, both from individual homeowners and from other social service agencies in our region. That concludes my presentation. At this point, the floor is open for questions and comments. Yes, sir.
Stu, the county also applied for a similar, what's the relationship between, because you said 69K is the county Queensbury meeting you've done, but it's lower for the Warren County. Are you working with the county to maximize the block funding? Or?
Well, the county planning office actually does operate their own housing rehab program. They've done some other things with housing funds as well, including a mobile home replacement program. But ever since the town started our own program in 2001, the county applications have explicitly excluded Queensbury. And since the city of Glens Falls is a CDBG entitlement community, they also are not covered by the county program. So the county, when the county applies for funds, they typically go county-wide, excluding us in Glens Falls.
Okay, Stu, Caroline.
Have you opened the public hearing?
No, not yet.
So
We probably should.
I would suggest opening the public hearing,
All right.
and then you can have people come up, and actually that way we can have it recorded.
Okay. So that's it for the presentation. Stu will be here to answer questions if you do have questions as part of the public hearing. Okay, Stu? We'll have the lights. We can.
Are there any additional questions or comments?
So we have before us tonight a resolution authorizing submittal of a New York State Office of Community Renewal CDBG Community Planning Grant application and making the determination that that is a Type 2 action under seeker, which means, since it's Type 2 and we deem it Type 2, that it requires no further seeker action at this point. So we're going to have a public hearing. And the public hearing is concerning the town's proposed application for funds. What are we applying for? We're applying for funds to develop a new, because Stu mentioned the last time we did this was 2003, a new affordable housing strategy. And that may lead us to being capable of receiving additional funds for our housing rehab program that, as Stu pointed out, we've done for about 16 years. So these funds, okay, will go through the New York State Office of Community Renewal administered Community Development Block Grant Program. So we would like to hear from all interested persons in reference to that tonight. We are applying for $50,000 for this grant. Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Any members of the public hearing have any questions about what we're trying to do here? Yes, please come forward. State your name for the record.
Jennifer Switzer, 40 Brick Oven Road, Queensbury. you're applying for $50,000. Do you have an estimated cost of what it would be for the consultant to come in? So in other words, above and beyond that $50,000, the town has a 5% interest that they have to pay. What would be the cost above and beyond that?
The town's total cost would be 5% of the total project cost, and the $50,000 we would be applying for up to $50,000. I'll be getting estimates from 2, perhaps 3 consulting firms on what the cost could be for doing a new affordable housing strategy in the similar form to what the 2003 plan was. And I'll use those estimates as the basis for the actual amount we apply for. I don't have those estimates at this point.
So you don't, at this point, you don't think that it would be over and above?
No, I wouldn't expect the total project cost to exceed $50,000. Back in 2003, the cost for doing the affordable housing strategy was $25,000. If you carry that forward by the rate of inflation, that brings us up to about, I think, $35,000. I'm not certain that consulting fees have been tracking the rate of inflation, but I just put that out there as one metric. I would expect the estimates would come in below $50,000, perhaps substantial. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Public hearing's open. Have any questions? Yes, George.
You hire a consultant to do this, or you do it?
We would hire a consultant to do it.
Yeah. And like you said, that's not above the $50,000.
That would be included. That would be
50.
included in and covered by the grant if we're awarded it.
Because you mentioned Davison's, and I followed that a little bit, and he said he didn't use the $50,000. So the $50,000 went back to the town of Queensbury, I'm assuming.
That's not correct at all. It was the total grant was $60,000, and we used it all.
But Davison didn't use it. He gave it back to the town, and then you used it for other things.
That's not correct. Davidson's used it to purchase labeling equipment for their canning line.
Oh, because he was here and said that they didn't use it. He gave it back to the town. It was in the paper. And it was $50,000. I went to a couple meetings on that. I think there was one, I don't know if it was in John's office somewhere, maybe it was up to Warren County building. Must have been here though. And I followed that a little bit because I was quite interested in it, because I figured he laid off or done away with 6 jobs in the city. Then he's coming up here and he said he's gonna hire 6. And a guy come here, and I don't know who, he can't remember who he was, but he said he hired 6 people. So, you know, I mean, I don't think that turned our money over like it should have.
Actually, the funds were used for the stated purpose of supporting the equipment line there, and we also documented that they were able to hire 3 people from low and moderate income households as part of that grant program. That grant was closed out, I believe, in
about a year ago.
Early in 2016, yeah. And it has been audited by New York State. So it was indeed used for its proper purposes.
Yeah, the only thing I got to say too along the same lines is the house grants. You take these low income and help them, you know, maybe put a roof on or something that, you know, and there's a lot of that around the town that people need, you know, and I think that's a great thing. And I don't see where any of that money's wasted. But when you come to a manufacturer or stuff like that, I think a lot of our money's being wasted. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, George. Anybody else have questions, observations, comments on this topic? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. So, we have a resolution before us. Is there a motion to move this forward? Moved by Councilman Irish, seconded by Councilman Clements. Roll call vote, please. Caroline?
Mr. Madavera?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes. All right. Motion passes. We move on. All right. Thank you, Stu.
Stay here. He did. Somebody representing Grant.
All right, next is our segment on resolutions. We have before us tonight 18 resolutions. I will go through and briefly describe each resolution. I believe there's an agenda on the table. Should you want to follow as I describe each resolution? And then I'll give the public an opportunity to speak to any of the resolutions before us tonight. All right, Resolution 3.1, Caroline.
Resolution authorizing license agreement for temporary use of Gurney Lane Recreation Area.
All right, this is the same as last year. The Under the Woods Foundation is having their annual bike race. I believe this is their fourth. Each year, the attendance and the participation have doubled. Mountain biking, and this event in particular, has become very popular. It's called the Churney-Gurney Mountain Bike Race. It will be held this year, August 5th. They would also like to add, as they did last year, amenity to the occasion with providing beer by Common Roots. And Common Roots will be providing the beer and overseeing its sale to the public. So both parties wish to enter into a license agreement setting forth the rights and responsibilities in connection with the race and the sale of beer at the park. And this resolution says that the town board authorizes and directs the town supervisor, town council, town budget officer, and/or director of Parks and Recreation to take any action necessary to effectuate the terms of this resolution. And it comes with an agreement between the town, Under the Woods Foundation, Common Roots Brewing Company for the Churney-Gurney Mountain Bike Race. And the town hereby grants a revocable license to the foundation to conduct the race and related activities at the park, and grants a license to the licensee to sell beer at the pavilion. And the licensee shall acquire and maintain the appropriate license or permit from the New York State Liquor Authority for the sale of beer at the pavilion. And then we go on with insurance, compliance with the laws, indemnification, rules and regulations, what happens if there's damage to the park, and so forth. That's Resolution 3.1. Resolution 3.2, Caroline, please.
Resolution authorizing hiring of seasonal employees to work for Department of Parks and Recreation.
All right. Our town policy requires that familial relationships must be disclosed. So we're considering hiring the following town employee relatives. Regan Asplin is the daughter of Town Council John Asplin. Nicholas Izzo is the stepson of Park and Recreation Director Stephen Lovering. And Gretchen Lovering is the wife of Park and Rec Director Stephen Lovering. Resolution 3.3.
Resolution authorizing promotion of Joseph Quintel from laborer to water maintenance worker number 2 at Town Water Treatment Plant.
Thank you. Town Water Superintendent has recommended that the town board authorizes the promotion of Joseph Quintel from laborer to water maintenance worker 2 at the Town Water Treatment Plant. He has shown the capacity to be able to do the job and has passed the departmental examination required for the position and has required job experience. Resolution 3.4, Caroline, please.
Resolution acknowledging and accepting required audit of financial statements of Queensbury Town Court for year ended December 31st, 2016.
All right. We have engaged the services of BST. And their auditing services to provide cash receipts and disbursement auditing services to the town of Queensbury. We've used them in the past, and we've authorized them for a 3-year extension, taking them to 2018. And this is in accord with the New York State Uniform Justice Court Act 2019A and Town Law 123, which set forth reporting, auditing, and audit requirements for town courts. And the town board wishes to acknowledge and accept the audit as having fulfilled the town board's responsibility to audit the town justice's records. So this resolution is authorizing and directing the town budget officer to provide such audit and certified copy of this resolution to Joan Consaza, Internal Control Liaison, New York State Office of Court Administration. The audit looked at bank reconciliations. Findings: the procedure did not reveal any findings. The audit looked at monthly reports to the Office of State Comptroller. Findings: the procedure did not reveal any findings. When I say that, that's a good thing. That means they didn't find anything wrong with what they were currently doing. Records of bail: this procedure did not reveal any findings. Cash receipts procedures: the procedure did not reveal any findings. Cash disbursement procedures: this procedure did not reveal any findings. Determination of monthly accountability: again, this procedure did not reveal any findings. Remittances to the town supervisor: this procedure did not reveal any findings. Comparison of dockets to monthly reports: this procedure did not reveal any findings. So the town court got a stellar audit. They went through with a fine-tooth comb and looked at everything they were doing that I just mentioned and found absolutely nothing wrong. That's good. This resolution is to accept this and send it on, as I said. Resolution 3.5, Caroline, please.
Resolution authorizing renewal of Town of Queensbury workers' compensation policies with Public Employer Risk Management Association, Inc., PERMA, for July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018.
All right, I want to thank Al Campney and Jeff Van Dyke, who gave a presentation to this town board June 12th at a workshop. It's down 12.9%. That's good. So the towns of Queensbury's workers' compensation policies is, this resolution is authorizing it to go to PERMA, which is the Public Employer Risk Management Association. And it's for a renewal. And Haler, Fryer, and Kuhn out of Syracuse, New York, were our brokers. And they're the ones that went through, put out a RFP, got proposals. PERMA came in the lowest at $677,076. Comp Alliance came in at $735,239, and no other quotes were submitted. Like I said, it's down 12.9%, which is a good thing for the town. Resolution 3.6.
Resolution authorizing Glens Falls Lions Club duathlon.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, the Lions Club wants to have its 6th annual duathlon, which will raise funds to enable them to continue their work in sight and hearing assistance. This will be held Sunday, October 8th, 2017, at about 9 a.m. It begins and ends at SUNY Adirondack. And the town highway, because they are using some of our roads for this, the town highway department has approved this. And the only thing that we need from them is their insurance, and this resolution is contingent upon the town's receipt of proof of proper insurance for this event to go forward. And Glens Falls Lion Club, a great organization, does great things in the area of sight and hearing. Resolution 3.7.
Resolution authorizing Marshall and Sterling Upstate, Inc. to renew Town of Queensbury insurance coverage with Trident, Argonaut, and cyber insurance coverage with Accent Lloyd's.
Okay, Ken Gray gave a presentation at our workshop June 12th. And this resolution is to authorize the renewal of insurance coverage with Trident, Argonaut, and the renewal cyber coverage of Accent Lloyd's effective July 1st, 2017, and will go through June 30th, 2018, in accordance with Marshall and Sterling Upstate Corridors Incorporated renewal proposal presented at this. And like I said, they gave a presentation to the town board at the workshop. The total premium would be $172,510.16. It includes what's covered, including cyber stuff, it also includes the RPs. Trident came in at the lowest amount at $162,184.31. Houston Casualty came in at $163,936. Nymere came in at about $203,000. Selective came in at $200,000, and Travelers came in at $214,000. Resolution 3.8.
Resolution authorizing advertisement of bids for purchase of 2017 or newer Ford Transit van for Town Building and Grounds Department.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Cemetery Department called me, Connie Getter, Director of Cemeteries here at Queensbury, Superintendent. Do we have a van? I said, what? Ours is shot. It was an old van. We use it around the cemetery. Is there anybody who's thinking of buying a new van and are willing to give up their old van in town? So I put that out. And Building and Grounds, Chuck Rice, came and he said, well, yeah, next year we're going to need a new van. Our van is pretty old and maintenance is high. And so, yeah, we could give that to cemetery if you want us to buy a new van now. So I called Connie up and I said, it's not in great shape. We don't need it in great shape. The one that we had wasn't in great shape, but it just lasted. We drive it around the yard, we carry equipment with it, it's interior, it's a van as opposed to a pickup truck or something we can't use. We would rather have the van. All right. So we thought things through and we said, okay, maybe it's just better to buy the new van for the Building and Grounds Department and give the old van to the cemetery if things work out. So this resolution is authorizing advertisement for bids for a purchase of a 2017 or newer Ford Transit van for the Building and Grounds Department. Resolution 3.9, Caroline?
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Adirondack Civic Center Coalition.
All right, this is the last of the occupancy tax distributions for this year. There might be one more coming in, but this is the last of it. All right, so this is an authorization of $5,000 to go to the Adirondack Civic Center Coalition for the purpose of helping to fund the 2017 New York State Public High School Athletic Association Girls Volleyball Tournament that will be held November of this year. The weekend event is expected to generate over 250 hotel rooms in the town of Queensbury, city of Glens Falls and surrounding area, as well as business to the surrounding areas, restaurants, stores, and other businesses, thereby benefiting the general economy of the town and all of Warren County. Resolution 310.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra, Inc.
Okay. Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra helps to promote cultural development of the community, attracts many persons to the Queensbury area, and provides an economic boon to the community. And this particular $4,500 pays for the 4th of July event, the fireworks at that event, which is actually July 3rd. And it's their annual summer concert at Crandall Park, July 4th celebration, but this will be on July 3rd and brings thousands of residents to Glens Falls, Queensbury, Hudson Falls, Fordham, Lake George, and beyond to a free public concert of patriotic favorites, marches, and traditional friendly music, family-friendly music. So that's Resolution 310. Resolution 311.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Hyde Collection.
All right. Hyde Collection helps to promote cultural development of the community and attracts many persons to the Queensbury area and provides an economic boom to the community. And this is an allocation of $8,000 to the Hyde Collection. The new gallery is something you should see at the Hyde. There are presentations, the new art, as well as the old art that they have. They have famous artwork from Homer, Rembrandt, so forth. They say they get between 18 and 20,000 visitors a year. The new study done by Warren County, the BBG&G study, said that visitors visiting the area, 45% of them, a little over 45% of them, plan to visit historic sites and museums. That's one of the reasons why they come to the area. Resolution 312, we're going to table. Resolution 313.
You're pulling it, you mean? 'Cause
Yeah, we're pulling
you
it.
introduced
Yeah.
it, so you don't need to table it, right? We're just pulling it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to Resolution 313.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and Six Flags Great Escape Properties.
Okay, the Great Escape has asked for $25,000. This is authorizing $10,000. They have an Oktoberfest, which is an attempt by the Great Escape to expand their shoulder season and at the same time provide a filler for those people that are here for the Balloon Festival. Give them reasons to stay after the morning rise and stay and maybe see the afternoon event. And that basically is that. Resolution 314, I've asked to pull, and we're going to pull 314. So Resolution 315.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Aqualogic, Inc. for diver-assisted suction harvesting in connection with Lake Sunnyside Aquatic Vegetation Management Program.
Okay. In 2012, we authorized, approved, and established the Lake Sunnyside Aquatic Plant Growth Control District. Their advising committee, titled Protective Association of Lake Sunnyside, or PALS, is their advisory committee to this district. And they would like to secure the services of Aqualogic for their aquatic vegetation management program for this summer at a cost not to exceed $1,000 per day and a one-time setup fee of $200, not to exceed $14,200. This program will consist of diver-assisted suction harvesting, to control invasive aquatic species within portions of Lake Sunnyside. Now, considering the reasonableness of the fee, the town may engage a particular professional which was previously used in connection with the project being undertaken or continued or substantially similar project, which this is. The contract can be authorized by Town Law 198-10E. So this is a resolution approving that and waiving the requirement under the town's purchasing policy for 2 written quotes in this case. And then they have an article describing diver-assisted suction harvesting. DAP. 316.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Chief Pete's Lawn Care to mow additional abandoned or neglected properties.
All right, we use Chief Pete elsewhere, and for the same price, we would like him, or the Dave Hatton, the Director of Building and Codes Enforcement, he'd like to be able to use it. In some cases, he might not have to, but he wants this town board's authorization to be able to use it if he does have to, for 14 Wayne Court, 7 Haven Lane, and 26 Bell Avenue. Resolution 317.
Resolution authorizing commencement of Supreme Court action to enforce code against non-compliant property.
All right, again, Dave Hatton, Director of Building and Codes Enforcement, issued a stop work order on 11 Wagon Trail. The owner is believed to be Joe Orlow. He issued the stop work order in August of 2015 until a building permit got secured. The owner has failed to obtain the administrative approvals necessary for a building permit to be issued. So this is a resolution that resolved that the Queensbury Town Board hereby authorizes commencement of Supreme Court action concerning the 11 Wagon Trail property in the town of Queensbury to compel compliance with any and all applicable town code and state code provisions, together with a request for costs and expenses associated with litigation. And Resolution 318.
Resolution approving audited bills warrant of June 20th, 2017.
All right, the bills can't be paid until the town board approves them to be paid, and this approves a warrant with a run date of June 15th and a payment date of June 20th, totaling $313,924.57. All right, those are the 16 resolutions before us tonight. I will now give the...
Hey, John, before you open up, I have a question on the warrant. Specifically on the payment to Lake George Park Commission. And that was for the boat wash.
Yeah.
I looked at the invoice that they sent us, and the invoice only says contribution. I thought that was for late. I'm wondering if it should be more specific about what that contribution for. I know it's a matching grant with the state.
Well, the contract does explain it. I believe you got a copy of the contract?
I did, but it says to be explained in Addendum A, and Addendum A just says contribution. It doesn't say what the contribution's for. I think it's for the labor that is required for that, but it doesn't say that.
Well, it's for the costs associated with the boat inspections and,
right,
if they're contaminated, cleanings.
But it doesn't say any of that. It just says contribution.
Well, the resolution, I believe, did. And you know, this is what we've done for the last, what, 4 years, 5 years?
I know, but I just want to be very careful after what we've done for the last 20 years with some other grants and make sure we're...
Well, and I also, Dave Wick will give me periodic updates on where your money's going and what good they're doing, and I sent you one tonight.
Yep, I've seen this.
I understand the question too, because when this began, we were buying equipment also, and I think all that equipment has been purchased now. Is that
well,
the case?
It's not quite, it's the cost of doing the boat inspection.
I'm sorry, it's the cost.
It's the cost. Labor, equipment, which needs to be replaced.
Okay.
And, you know, and there's usable things that need to be replaced and so forth.
Okay. So
and Dave Wick has been before you and explained this.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay? All right. Any other thoughts or questions from the town board before I open it to the public? Okay. Any members of the public wish to speak to any of the 16 resolutions before us tonight? Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, Harrison Freer, 28 Garrison Road. I'd just like to say a word in support of Resolution 1. The Churney-Gurney off-road bike activity is growing, and it's a good draw to the community. We're trying to make this a destination off-road bike community, and the Churney-Gurney is a key to that. So having fun at that race will help us in that effort. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak to any of the resolutions before us tonight?
Good evening. Rachel Sieber, Town of Queensbury, Supervisor at Large. I have just two quick questions. One on 3.4, the accepting required audit of financial statements from the town board or the town court. It looks like that was done December 2016. I'm noticing that you have a resolution accepting it. Do you require a resolution for all audits?
Formal audits that the town secured to send on, it's required by state law that this audit, along with the resolution approving the audit and accepting the audit, be sent to the person at the state level that I told you about. It's required for this particular audit.
Okay, so it's not required for all audits across the board, just for this one.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the results of an audit, good or bad. So I appreciate seeing that, even though it's we're in June, but it's nice to see the resolution now. The other question that I have is as it relates to the Historical Society 3.14. I was at the workshop meeting when the Historical Society came and talked about their desire for occupancy tax. And of course, I think the Historical Society does a lot of great work. We've seen a huge benefit to our community from them and certainly applaud their work.
The resolution isn't before us tonight.
I think we pulled that one.
Did you pull 3.14?
Yes, we did.
Okay, how much did they ask for in occupancy tax?
I believe they asked for $2,500 and we offered, well, it appeared the consensus was $2,000.
Okay, and for the moving expenses, do you remember exactly what they asked for?
It wasn't moving expenses, and I think I kind of...
In the presentation I saw when I was there, they did talk about the need for moving expenses, but it's tabled, so I can't discuss it anyway.
About funding their events and funding their potential activity as a museum and an attractant to the area.
Well, I guess I heard something different, but anyway, it's tabled.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
If I could stay in, please. I feel your pain.
Resolution 311. Mr. Stroud, you stated that 45% of the visitors coming to this area attend either a historic site or a museum.
That's what the BBG&G report said.
Is there a breakdown of that?
No, well,
for instance,
there may be, John. I'm just giving you one of the highlights that they presented to me.
I'd like to see quantitatively what that represents. For instance, I know the Fort William Henry is considered a museum. Fort Ticonderoga is considered a museum, not a historic site.
Well,
and
actually,
lumping that together with the Hyde.
Actually, they're both.
How do they, the people who came up with this 45%, how do they consider it? Both? Not likely. Thank you.
Okay.
Resolution 317. Why is it necessary to commence a Supreme Court action? Mr. Hatton has the authority to take these people to town court. That was put specifically into the town code.
This is what Mr. Hatton...
The Supreme Court is an extremely expensive and long process, whereas town court can be handled much more expeditiously. And I think that was the reason the town went to this effort.
Well, it may never go to the Supreme Court. Hopefully this gets resolved and pronto.
You're going to commence an action in the Supreme Court.
Remember, tried to get it. Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Travis Whitehead, Queensbury. With regards to 3.18, there is an expenditure on the list of warrants for $30,000 to the Lake George Park Association, and it's out of the Warren County occupancy tax. And it's that issue that I'd like to address. It's to support the boat wash program, as you suggested. Honey, let's head up to Lake George this weekend to look at the boat wash station and, you know, drag our boat along maybe, but we're going to have to make reservations because it's a 3-hour drive. Don't think it's going to happen. Don't think people are going to come here to go ahead and take a look at a boat wash station or to go through a boat wash station or anything to do with a boat wash station. And occupancy tax is the key word in there. There's only about 2 sentences in the law that comes down from the state. And we have pages and pages of things that the county has added to it, as, you know, it can be brochures and this other. The key words there, it must be directly related to tourism. And I have a great deal of concern that this expenditure is, and this is a $30,000 expenditure, which would require $750,000 worth of rooms to be sold at 4%. It's a big chunk, and I don't think it's going to be bringing in very many tourists. So I'm going to be interested to take a look at how that's described next year when you ask for a reimbursement from the county as to how this was. And you probably ought to go ahead, because it is allowed. You can go ahead to the county and you can go ahead and say, we're not sure whether this is going to qualify or not. So before we submit the money, we're going to ask you for a ruling. Because if you don't do that, they can go ahead and say, we want the $30,000 back. If you do that, they can tell you, yeah, it's okay. Or they can say, no, it isn't okay. And I would think on something like this is a good example of one you probably ought to take to the county, have it debated up there. It's my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have thoughts or comments in regards to the resolutions before us tonight? Yes, sir.
Ron Ball, Queensbury. I'm not sure if I understood it correctly or not, but it certainly does seem odd. Someone at 3.11 said the Hyde collection from Warren County, the visitors coming into the county, 45% of them go to the Hyde?
No.
No, it's not the way.
No, not just to the Hyde, to those types of venues.
Those types.
Historical or...
But yet we're putting the money into the Hyde. So there's other, how come we're not donating to the other ones then? That are...
They didn't ask this year.
We usually do if they ask.
We usually do.
Contribute.
Yeah. Because it really seems odd, you know, coming from the county. I know the county said there that 93 planes fly into Warren County Airport every day. I wonder if it's the same guy to come up with these figures, but I don't know. Something's really strange about this. But the other point I wanted to make, well, I still have another minute here as soon as I can find it, is about this, let me see, where is it here? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding it. About the audit, the financial audit, 3.4. Now, we know the problems we already had with audits. But Dave Decker, this thing we're involved in is really getting way, way out of hand. And I know John has deceived us on this. And when he comes forward now and he says,
Well, we've got a really good record here. Everything's clean, everything's good. But look what just happened here recently. Howard Cosell once said, "What a tangled web we weave once we learn to deceive." And John deceived us about this audit with Decker. He should have been more upfront with it. And for him to say this here, I got to step back and say, geez, I wonder if this is true too. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer Switzer, Town of Queensbury.
Turn the mic, Jen.
Town of Queensbury, related to the same resolution 3.4. I believe if you go onto the town's website, under the town board materials, you will find a copy of the audit that is in here, so you can actually read that information for yourself. That's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Like, in reference to the resolutions? Okay. I understand a roll call on 310.
On 310?
312 and 314 have been pulled. So that leaves 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 311, 313, and 315, 316, 317, and 318.
I have another question on 318 now.
Yeah.
Can we, and I don't want to hold up our bills, can we do as Travis suggested and check with the county on that 30 grand with Octax? I know we've been doing it for a long time that way, but I don't think we've ever really asked and said, this is a legitimate fee, although they've never asked us back. Can we do that? And then if everything's fine, we'll send the check, but if there's an issue, we can...
Well, I don't see the need for that. I mean, you did approve a resolution for $30,000 to go towards the funding of boat launching.
Yeah, my concern is that, again, to Travis's point, it may not necessarily meet criteria for that legislation.
Well, I don't agree with Travis.
Well, I'd like the county or somebody that is responsible
Well,
for this to
water
do that.
quality and tourism, I think there's a direct relationship there. If you
Yeah,
don't
but if
have
the lake
good water
dies,
quality-
we have no tourism.
No, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying this should have come out of another account.
Well, really, I mean, think about it. Why do people come to Lake George? They may not come to specifically see a boat washing station, but you know what? People are stopped. They're not going to Tahoe anymore. And you want to know why? Because they did nothing about the problems we have in Lake George. And that lake is
I don't
dying. So if
disagree
you
with
want
you. It's
this
a good
lake to
idea.
die, let's not pay it.
I don't think
Let's see what
anybody has
happens.
said the lake should die.
Well,
Tony's saying there's
I
a
said-
direct relationship between...
you know,
I'm not saying that
an
it's not.
analogy that people are not coming to watch a boat station. You're absolutely right, but give me a freaking break.
Did you
People are
read the
coming
law,
to
Tony?
this lake.
Have you read
People
the
are
law?
coming to this lake because
Have
of
you
its
read the
beauty.
law?
You want me to go through
you read
that
the law?
again? Because I think I do this almost every meeting.
I'm just saying we should have the county
So
weigh in on it.
stupid. My God. This is just stupid. Seriously, it's stupid.
Well,
And I'll go on the record, it's absolutely stupid,
Well,
Travis.
I disagree with you because I think it's probably one of the most important things we do here is look out for where we spend money.
Right,
So,
and we
if
have
you
to
think
spend
it's
money
stupid
where
to
it's
do that,
smart.
I guess that's
And this is
entirely
one
up
of
to you to
those
think
smart
that.
things, where you want the lake to die, let it die.
I don't think anybody has said the lake should die. What I said was...
So
this
we're
is-
being proactive.
I said, is this the appropriate place to take this money from? If
absolutely.
you want to argue that Octax is where it should come from, that's fine. My only comment is, there's a whole committee that sits up the county and decides whether or not this stuff qualifies for Octax money. We've got a bunch of hoteliers. If you've ever showed up at one of the roundtable meetings, you'd see them there.
And I
complaining-
show up to the round table.
complaining that we're not
Dog.
spending that money the way it's properly set aside. So I'm saying, let's check. I mean, if you don't want to check, that's fine. That's up to you.
I'm fine with checking for next year.
I want
But
to check this
We've
year.
already authorized this for this
Then I'd
year.
like to vote on this one separately. Then if I have to vote no on the entire bill, that's what I'll do.
Good, hold up all the bills so nobody gets paid that week.
I gave you an option, Tony, if you want to be, hard-headed about it and just, call people stupid and do whatever you want to
Well,
do. That's up
this
to you.
is stupid.
No, it's
Honest to
not
God.
stupid. I
It's
think it's
probably the best $30,000 you can spend in the
And
county.
I'm not saying that, I'm not
And
saying
you
not to
guys
spend it. I'm
argue
not saying
that
spend it
It's
in the
not
right place.
unusual
They
for
shouldn't
you,
spend it.
the night of a meeting, to bring up an issue when we've had workshops, we passed a resolution, you didn't bring it up then. I mean,
I'm bringing it up now, John.
and you passed it for,
You can do what you want to do.
the fourth year?
I've asked for it to be pulled out, to be voted on separate,
I
and you
see
can do
no
what you want to
reason.
do.
All right, so
I
318,
think that's a great reason for one of my comments tonight, but I'll hold off on it.
All right.
I have a question. So 310 and 318, we're going to do a roll call on those two?
yes.
Can you
Okay.
pull 311 too, please?
We pulling 311?
Would you please pull 311? Not pull, just roll call vote.
311 roll call.
Please.
So roll call on 310, 311, and 318.
Would you like to do them first, or would you like?
Yes, let's do the roll calls first, starting with 310.
I need someone to introduce
Oh, I'll
these.
introduce. Sorry.
Introduced by Councilman Irish. Seconded by Councilman Clements.
This is 310, resolution authorizing an agreement between the town of Queensbury and Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra. Are we ready?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
No.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Medivere?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution passes. Roll call on 311, please.
Hang on 1 second, please. This is resolution authorizing agreement between the town of Queensbury and Hyde Collection.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Irish,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilman Clements. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Medivere?
Abstain.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Roll call vote on 318.
A resolution approving audited bills warrant of June 20th, 2017.
I'll introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Medivere,
Sorry.
seconded by Councilman Irish.
Are you ready? Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Medivere?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
No.
Okay, now, on the remaining resolutions, is there a motion to approve?
I'll introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Medivere, seconded by Councilman Irish.
Mr. Medivere?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes. Correspondence?
I do have the May monthly supervisor's report from Building and Codes. Filed.
Privilege of the floor. Anybody like to speak to the town about, yes, sir, town matters?
Ron Ball, Queensbury. I have a mile of road that it's called the Doctor Highway. I've been taking care of for almost 20 years. And I do it occasionally. I just go out there and pick it up. Sometimes I bring the trash home, put it in my own trash bin. Sometimes I leave it alongside the road, call the town to come pick it up. I found TVs, tires, washing machines, refrigerators, condoms, ladies' underwear, cell phones, all kinds of stuff. And package of cigarettes. You know, somebody throw out an empty pack. I said, well, I'd like to catch that guy who throws that empty pack of cigarettes out there. And lately, we've been getting a lot of these post-R, and they just litter them out there. They're litter bugs. And they continue to do it. And people have been calling me that I know. And they said, hey, while you're picking them up, come on down, pick up some by me, down by my house, you know. And I told them some things I'm not going to say on here. But the thing is, the post-R just getting away with this. They're bullying us to read their advertisement in here. That's all they're doing. They're just bullies. And they can't get their advertisement out because people don't want to buy the paper, so they're going to give it to us free to read their paper. And if this continues, I'm going to announce who these advertisers are in here, and I'm going to ask people to boycott if they want to continue that stretch. Now to get back to the Lake George Park Commission, Tony, he gets upset when somebody doesn't agree with him. Tony's got a business going up in Lake George. You know, he wants to make Lake George one of the top spots in the area. Don't think about Queensbury, think about Lake George. But the Lake George Park Commission, let's see what their track record is. They spent millions of dollars putting down these masts to kill these Asian clams. And you go there today with a pie tent from the dollar store and you sift, and you're going to find out there's just as many Asian clams there today as there was 5 or 7 years ago when they started. And I believe they finally stopped, realized it wasn't doing any good. You go by these boat washes, and they're out there, and you see 2 guys out there, and never seen boats in there. Once in a great while, a boat will pull in there, and it's costing us boaters thousands of dollars to do that, to set it up. But the real problem here in Lake George is the septic systems, the houses, the people that live on the lake. Their septics are running into the lake, and it's creating milfoil. Now, they got a way of getting rid of milfoil. They harvest it, hand harvest it. Our town supplies dump trucks so they can haul away. Tons and tons they haul away. But the real problem is the septic systems, not this boat washing. That's not going to take care of the problem. The problem is they got to spend money correctly. And for us to give them more money toward that, it's not doing anything. That boat washing doing nothing. You got to go after it. The $1 Million Beach is closed. They spent millions of dollars on that Charles Wood Park there and the drainage. And from what I understand now, that what they did, that might be one of the problems why $1 Million Beach is closed, because of the E. coli that's in there. And they had the beach closed the other day, and I see all the people swimming in the doggy beach. Nobody there to enforce the doggy beach, I guess. But for you to complain about that boat wash, that's ridiculous. That boat wash doesn't do anything, not one thing. And I don't understand why you're going against another councilman like that.
He goes against me all the time.
He does now.
Oh, bullshit.
You're just crying. You're just a whiner.
Okay, Ron. Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Wastewater, stupid, wastewater.
I don't think Tony's doing this because he owns a place up there or whatever, but you know, after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that boat wash for the infrastructure, I don't know how many of you understand, but we are paying $700,000 a year to staff those. $700,000 a year to staff those boat washes.
That's incorrect.
That's not correct.
It is, you know, are you interrupting me? Add the time, please. I mean, I will show you the information. It came from Mr. Wick, okay? And then you can apologize to me for that, which will never happen. But at any rate, rather than paying $700,000 a year to staff that, which I will show you what Mr. Wick says, the Lake George sewer plant sits there as the largest polluter in the lake, and we're doing nothing about it. It's been under an order of consent for years and years and years. It's been noted to be the largest point source of nutrients going into that lake. That's why we have invasive species there. They're after the free buffet that's being supplied by all the other, you know, the humans around the lake that won't take care of their problems. I would much rather see $600,000 or $700,000 a year put towards fixing that problem, and we should. That lake is important to all of us, every single one of us, and I don't think any one of us wants to see that problem. I mean, it would hurt us. 30,000 is nothing compared to what would happen. He's right. If Lake George all of a sudden says, "Oh, geez, it rained today. Now we're going to have to close the beaches because the sewer plants are overflowing." I mean, we have problems. That is human waste that's showing up on those beaches. It's been proven. And that's what we need to put our attentions to. So, but my concern on 318 had nothing to do with that. My concern had only to do whether occupancy tax was the proper source of those funds. And it remains my concern. And it'll probably be debated up at the county again at some point in time. And I'm not sure which way it would go. But, it wouldn't make any difference to you to delay the thing, to delay that payment and get that. But it's done. It's over.
And to be clear, I'd be perfectly fine if the county says, something that's not an issue. But we've had so many things that go in front of us that we vote on that just don't have anything to do with tourism and overnights and everything else, that it's like, I would just like somebody other than this town board to say, this is a good idea because we're spending that money outside the town of Queensbury. There's, I think, one boat washing station within the bounds of Queensbury, the rest of them are around the lake. We pay, to my knowledge, we pay more than any other municipality that contributes to that by a large margin. So I would just like to know that it's coming out of the right fund. I never said let's not fund it. I said let's make sure it's coming from the right source. That's my...
I'd be in favor of helping Lake George put in a better sewer plant. I mean, it's not a question of the lake. It's a question of what makes sense. If you put the food in there, they're going to come. That's basically nature. Not human nature, I mean nature. You're not going to stop those things from coming. Put the food in and they will come.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. Rachel Sebergen, Supervisor at Large. Just briefly on the boat washing issues so that you're all aware, I'm sure Supervisor Strauss is aware of this too. For years now, the county has gone back and forth with whether that's an allowable expense or not. I've had many discussions with the previous county attorney as well as the current county attorney. And I know that's a hot topic. It's something that is regularly debated. Respectfully, Councilman Medevere, I would not say it's a stupid issue, but one that we do take up quite frequently at the county. So I think it is a question worth asking. We have asked the county if there's a way to start reviewing all the occupancy tax expenditures and making determinations for towns and those that inquire whether something is an allowable expense or not. And I know Mike Swan has been looking at that and working with our county attorney and coming up with a plan. It's in part why the advisory board was put together at the county level to look at these types of issues. So just as a FYI. Additionally, Mrs. Switzer brought up a great point that your audit from the Queensbury Town Court is on the website from a 2016 calendar year. What I was wondering is, I have a copy of a letter stating that on December 10th, 2015, there was a final audit report that was prepared in response to, I don't have a date on John's letter to the state referencing the audit report, but I do have one from October 20th of 2015. Attached, please find the audit report, including observations and recommendations developed. I'm a big fan of transparency. I'd love to see all of this go up on the website, but at least the 5-page cover letter about what the findings were from that audit. So if we're going to put the court's audit up, is there a way that I could ask you as councilmen to make a decision to also put this audit up on the website? Because good or bad, it should be out there for the people to see.
Well, what audit in particular are you referring to? Because my tenure here started in 2014, and I can give you various accounts that almost continuously the Department of State was auditing the grants, the payment requests, and so forth, and what was put up for in-kind services. It was almost a continuous audit.
Well, I have the audit finding right here, the summary of review and findings, where it says the town failed to properly document and report local match for 3 of the 5 contracts reviewed. And on page 2, it goes through 6 additional observations, which were all negative. But that, again, is a date of October 20th. That first letter, October. Again, yours doesn't have a date on it when you replied to the state, but then the state's final report on December 10th. So, I mean, we have the information.
You have the document from July of 20,
Is that on the website as well as the town courts?
no, do you have it? I mean, you have that document. Do you
Well, a lot of this has all been foiled.
that by 2 months saying that all our grants?
I'm sorry, John, can you back up for a second? I didn't hear you.
Do you have the document that preceded that said all our grants are fine?
What document are you referring to?
$16,000, which was disallowed. They had the listing of all the grants.
John,
They said they're
my
all in order.
Mm-hmm,
You have that document?
Is it on the website?
No. I can give it to you.
Well, is my specific question, just to go back to this, is she brought up a great point. There's positive audits on the website. Is this audit on the website?
Process, because we were...
John, I specifically am just asking for this one. I'm asking you, is this audit on the website?
Context, Mrs. Sieber, with everything else and not pull it out for political reasons.
John, this has nothing to do with politics.
I know.
John, August 17th, I came to a workshop. You've taken up some of my time, so I'm sure you're not going to mind if I keep talking. So on August 17th, I came to a workshop meeting. I asked the questions about the audit. I've been coming to these meetings asking those questions. I have grant experience, and I was told all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted, you passed. This doesn't look like a passing audit to me. All I'm pointing out is you have a town audit from the courts on the website. Perhaps I need to address this to Councilman Clements, Councilman Medevere, Councilman Irish. Would you please put all of the audit reports on the
What
website?
you're not pointing out is that all those grants were satisfactorily completed.
That's not true, John. She's got the final audit report that says that's not true.
I mean,
well,
it's not.
That is true.
I don't see why it wouldn't be a problem to put all the
Yeah, I
audits
don't.
up
I don't.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to single out any.
Although this town board has never seen that officially from the town supervisor.
No, but they've been told.
We got it from the sheriff. So.
But listen, this is
John,
a board meeting, not a political process.
Listen, I am here to advocate for the people of our community. I also represent our taxpayers at the county level, which, by the way, we're still out money at the county. So my question is, again, you've put one audit on the website. Will you be putting all of your audits on the website? And if not, could I please respectfully request that a resolution be put forth that would place all of your audits on the website for transparency for the people who actually pay the taxes here and contribute to our community to see?
I would vote for that.
Yeah, as long as we know there's an audit that exists.
Okay, so is that something you put on the floor tonight, or will it wait a couple weeks and we'll forget about it and it won't come back?
Be a good idea to have a full board here when we do that, just so everybody's on the same page.
Well, I
don't think there'd be an issue, but
who would vote no to putting the audits on a website?
Well, I'm not here to debate you. I'm sure that's coming.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, I am looking forward to it. But right now, you're from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017 was constantly under audit.
So those findings.
There's 3 pages.
Okay.
There's 3 answers.
I'm so glad we have the town court audit on the website. I'll look forward to reading that, but I hope in the future we could have all of our audits on the website for our taxpayers to look at. That was my only point of requesting it.
I don't mean to take up any more of the time that you don't have any longer, but
Thank you.
I'll just say that we've got a 3-page report from BST for that court audit.
Oh.
But I'll bet you there's a 3-inch binder that they have of stuff that we don't, that's not on the website. I bet this is. So to your point about 3 years of auditing, yeah, they came in here and they looked back 3 years and they started, once we said, wait a minute, we have an issue here, then they came in and they started looking at all those grants. So to say that that's not up there because there was 3 years of review, I don't think is fair, John, when I know there's a lot more documentation than this for the BST audit that we had done for the court. This is up there on that website.
Well, comparing audits and audits, that's not a simple thing, Doug. This was secured by the town. It was a specific purpose.
Sure.
The Lake George Watershed Coalition was not that simple. And it was very involved.
It wasn't initiated by us.
I'm documenting everything that was all about, and I kept you appraised of everything that was going on.
Well, thank you.
Mrs. Seaver.
I think my question is very simple. Could you please consider putting all audit reports on the website? That's all. Thank you for that consideration, gentlemen.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board? Yes, sir.
George Winters, 4 John Kleiner Road in Queensbury. Western Avenue, how far does Queensbury own over Western Avenue? All the way to Main Street?
Western Avenue, we own on the western curb.
Yeah. Right near Hannaford where you pull in, there's a great big dip in there. I don't know if it's a
That's the city's.
manhole.
Western Avenue is the city's. We own to the curb, the western curb. Western Avenue itself, for the most part, is the city's.
Oh, so where that big dip is, that belongs to the city?
I'm assuming since Western Avenue is the city's.
Oh, because I know at the time when we talked about Main Street, the Cavianos, I think his name's Caviano, owns the house on the corner, and he had to put the dormers on it and everything else, and he's put them on it and it sits there. The town of Queensbury was taking care of that. They
Taking care of what?
Cavianos, right where the chiropractor owns that house on the corner. And then I'm pretty sure it was the town of Queensbury said he'd want them to make it look like it was two-story, so they put the dormers on it and stuff. When we're talking about Main
The property
Street.
is in Queensbury. The property itself is in Queensbury.
Oh, but the road belongs to the
The
city.
boundary, the boundary between Glens Falls and Queensbury goes, I think it goes down Western Avenue, but there's an agreement in place with the city to take care of Western Avenue.
Yeah, because that's an awful dip there. I was going over there yesterday. I see the sheriff patrol going.
Hit the bicycle, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, man. And one thing, talking about politics.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see is every councilman and the supervisors have their people that are running against them. We'll have an open forum, and whoever's running against you, have it that night and before the election. And
I'm agreeable to that, George. I just don't think it should happen at town board meetings. I think we should be more professional.
You're right. I believe that too. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board? All right, seeing none. Next, let's move on to town board discussions. Tim isn't here. No?
I only have one thing tonight, and that is well, actually two things. I want to congratulate Kate Hogan on her appointment as a judge, and congratulate Jason Carasone on his promotion to district attorney for the next few months here and getting ready to run for office. So I want to congratulate both those guys. Kate's a great person. I've known her for a long time, and I know she'll do a good job on the Court of Claims. I know that she's been looked at a few times for different judgeships and different things, even at the federal level. So I want to congratulate her and hope or wish her all the best. And same to Jason Carasone in the next few months with his new role.
Yeah, I just got wind of that about an hour ago. That's fresh news. All right, thank you. Councilman Clements?
Yes, I have a number of things, a lot of which people talked about tonight, as a matter of fact. I'd like to start with, I was going to offer a resolution from the floor tonight for a creation of an occupancy tax advisory committee. I have since decided not to do that, but I am going to go over the things that are in it because I think that we should do it as soon as possible. And I'd like to have a full board here before we vote on that. Basically, it had to do with this. The citizens of the town of Queensbury have been critical of disbursement on some of the occupancy tax funds, and we saw some of that tonight. Some board members and Supervisor Strau have indicated that there's been an interest in creating a committee to advise the town board on the use of occupancy tax funds, and I think that would be a good idea. So my suggestion was going to be creating a 5-person occupancy tax advisory committee to receive and review applications for completeness from profit and nonprofit businesses in the community, and to review meeting and criteria for occupancy tax distribution as set forth by the Warren County and the town of Queensbury, and advise the Queensbury Town Board as to who should receive such funds and how they should be, and whether they should be received. And basically that was it. There's some other, we would like to see the committee have, with the 5 volunteer members, have 2 business owners from the town of Queensbury that have businesses and reside in the town of Queensbury, and 3 interested citizens residing in the town of Queensbury. One of the people that has talked about this on numerous occasions is Hal Bain, and Hal is on the Tri-County United Way board, and has done a lot of this stuff and has a lot of experience with looking at applications. So I hope if we get this resolution passed in the next couple of meetings here, that he'll consider being on that board. The next one is I wanted to share a letter from Donna Trotter on plastic bag use that came to me. This was actually sent to John, Supervisor Strau, and she sent it to me because she's in my ward and wanted me to take a look at it too. And it reads, "Dear Supervisor Strau, I'm writing this email in response to the recent discussions on plastic bag use and the potential changes to their availability. The Post-Star quoted you on its May 2nd, 2017 article on this topic that public input is needed here. We need their ideas, we need their preferences. It's my understanding there's a board meeting on June 14th, I believe that was a board meeting at the county level, to receive public input. However, I'm unable to attend, so I will state my views here. I'm an avid recycler, nature lover, and hiker, and have lived in the Adirondacks most of my life. My husband and I have participated in town cleanups, including the one in the spring of 2016 at Hovey Pond Park, where you may recall we had the pleasure of meeting you. All this said, I strongly disagree with a ban or fee for plastic bags for the following reasons. Although eliminating single-use bags would be well-intentioned, I see it as ineffective. One of the obvious goals of the change is to eliminate trash from waterways and landfills, etc. But as we have seen in the implementation of the 5-cent refundable bottle deposit, this effort has been ineffective. Pick any roadway and you will likely find a redeemable bottle. Additionally, plastic bags are not the only trash clogging our sewers and littering our roadways and green spaces. As a regular user of the area bike path and other trails, sadly, I see lots of paper cups, bottles, etc. Why stop at plastic bags? Why not ban all single-use containers? Will banning stop them from littering? Secondly, charging for bags at the store is an unnecessary economic burden for many. In addition, advocates encouraging the use of reusable bags need to realize these bags also have a cost. To many, this effort is just another way to try to tax our way out of a problem. Also, in terms of additional costs to our town, how much is attributable to plastic bag misuse? Is it costing us X dollars in damaged water treatment equipment, loss of productivity, diminished health of the community? In other words, are there other issues of a higher priority that should be addressed first? Another concern is what type of single-use bags will be included in this effort. Will it include bags used for produce, takeout, or dry cleaning, bags at department stores, or bags to discard pet waste? Or as one comment in response to the Post-Star op-ed in favor of bag ban, will the ban include the plastic bags their newspapers come in? Aren't all these examples equally as detrimental to the environment? Also, how will the effectiveness of the ban or fee be measured? Will it be anecdotal? I see less bags here. Will someone actually count before and after? Is there a pay-as-you-go implementation? Who will benefit from the fee? Will the stores keep a cut of, or will all proceeds go to the town? If so, what would the money collected be used for? Lastly, and most importantly, what about personal responsibility and choice? And I think this is probably the best part. I prefer to use plastic bags for my groceries. I don't think of them as single-use because I use them for many things, and those I don't, I religiously recycle. I am all for those who want to use the reusable bags or paper bags, if that is their preference. But the point is, and that is their choice. I don't want to dictate what they should use, nor should they dictate my choices. Also, I take responsibility for cleaning up my trash. It is up to others to do the same. Perhaps more should be done to enforce the litter laws or more strongly advocate in schools personal responsibility. Whatever the case, leave my bags alone. I have a couple of other things here. One is Kathy Bazzoni. I wanted to thank Kathy for her work on wastewater pollution reduction and for her ongoing work on crafting a property transfer law on inspections of septic systems. I think she's doing a wonderful job, and I thought I'd give her a kudos here. The last thing I have is I was honored to be asked to present an award to a new Eagle Scout, Andrew Valenza, and would like to read a congratulatory note from the town board. I also presented a beautiful plaque on behalf of Supervisor Straub. Andrew Valenza, Troop 13, Queensbury, New York. Dear Eagle Scout Andrew, on behalf of the councilmen of the town of Queensbury, congratulations on your completion of the arduous requirements for the prestigious Eagle Scout Award. Your hard work and dedication has earned you this high honor. You have demonstrated Scout spirit through the Boy Scout oath, law, service, and leadership. The title Eagle Scout is held for life. Once an Eagle, always an Eagle. And therefore you carry with you a sense of leadership and accomplishment with this honor. You join the ranks of many famous Eagle Scouts, including those who have gone on to be Nobel Prize winners, astronauts, our nation's leaders in military and public office, as well as award-winning film directors and actors. The town of Queensbury commends you on your high achievement of excelling in citizenship, leadership, service, and outdoor skills. You're an asset to our community and will be an influential leader and a prime example of everyone wherever you go in life. So, thank you, Andrew. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Medevere.
I suppose I better apologize for my language, so my apologies. It's just amazing to me that try to do good things in this community and people hold it against you. I think I'm the only business that's ever opened in town or in the area that has so many conflicts associated with it. I rent bicycles. It's not a big deal. So my apologies for my language. It won't happen again, but come on, seriously. Enough, Rob, enough. Seriously.
Okay, thank you. All right. Today's 19th, but I want to talk about something, the anniversary of which was 2 days ago, June 17th. Something that happened June 17th in 1775. Is there anybody out there or anybody in the community that knows why Warren County is named Warren County?
General Joseph Warren.
That's right.
Was killed at Lexington.
No. Bunker Hill. Bunker Hill. All right. He was a highly intelligent person, lived in Boston, practiced medicine and surgery in Boston. He was the Grand Master of the Masonic Provincial Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. Early on, he played a leading role in American Patriot organizations in Boston in the early days of the Revolution, eventually serving as president of the Revolutionary Massachusetts Provincial Congress. He enlisted Paul Revere and William Dawes on April 18, 1775, to leave Boston and spread the alarm that the British garrison in Boston was setting out to raid the town of Concord and arrest the rebel leaders John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Warren participated in the next day's battles of Lexington and Concord, which are commonly considered to be the opening engagements of the American Revolutionary War. He was commissioned a major general in the colony's militia, and he was at Breed's Hill in the famous Battle of Bunker Hill that June, that 1775. The British made several attacks up Breed's Hill, which we call the Battle of Bunker Hill. each one getting worse. George Washington, heading the command at the time, knew that the next onslaught was going to probably be the final one. He asked for some volunteers to stay behind, stay shooting at the British, hold them off long enough so that the farmer soldiers could get away. Joseph Warren volunteered to do that, knowing his fate. George Washington tried to talk him out of it. I need you, he said. He says, no, I'm a common soldier with a common cause, and I elect to stay behind. He did. The job was successfully done. Washington's farmer soldiers managed to escape to fight the British another day. But not Joseph Warren. The fate that he knew would befall him did so. So he gave his life to save so many others after he played such a significant role in the formation of the revolutionary movement. And that is why we named our county Warren County. And since the anniversary is 2 days ago, today is June 19th, I just thought it was worth mentioning. Big brothers, big sister, Bill Moon, thanks to the town board. YMCA, thanks to town board. SUNY Adirondack, as you know, one of the elements of successful economic development is being fulfilled by SUNY Adirondack. We're lucky to have them right here in our backyard in the town of Queensbury. We're looking at new programs that will fulfill the workforce development costs, and there'll be more on that forthcoming. Walt Lender of the Lake George Association appreciated my letter of support for the LGA's 2017 Helen Froelich grant application. Again, area codes will be changing August 19th. And then if you're going to manually dial it, you're going to need to manually dial the area code first and then the telephone number, unless you have it plugged into an electronic device. Supervisors report to the board and the community. Tuesday, June 6th, I met with Gray Royer of SmartWatt, discussed the investment grade audit and our options going forward. We felt that the RFP option was going to be likely. The town board has set a meeting to discuss with National Grid what they call utility energy service contracts, and that's July 6th. Did a Look TV interview on the Lake George Watershed Coalition, what it is and what it's not in history and practice, and the DOS's relationship to the Lake George Watershed Coalition and the grant process. On June 7th, we had an ARCC Business of the Year Awards breakfast. I also met with, that day, Dick Sears, and he says that we're having a space issue up on the Ridge Road landfill. We have tons of grindings and chips that nobody wants. And I can't believe that you don't want that. I mean, if you come with pickup trucks or bigger trucks, we'll load it.
Weren't they, isn't Petruzzo still operating over in Corinth, was taking all that stuff? Do they not do that anymore?
Not that I know of. I mean, those are options to look into. We need to get rid of it. So if you know somebody that might want it, connect. Because we're running out of space up there. And I told them we try and do what we do. One of the things is announce that there's these grindings and chips. Yeah. June 8th, Thursday, we had a county EMS meeting. The issue was trying to assure ambulance emergency responses. They discussed I Am Responding software. Those who were familiar with it said it was very effective, but needs to have all emergency responding entities to be using it to be effective. So I put out an email to the EMS and fire agencies to see if they're interested in using I Am Responding Most of the fire agencies are already using it. The EMS said possibly. We have some questions, so we need to have a question and answer period. Friday, June 9th, met with Planning Director Craig Brown, and we were introduced to an electric car. Bob Gilman drove up, of Wayland Chevrolet, drove up with a Bolt. And he corrected me several times after I said Volt. He said, no, Bolt with a B. So Craig Brown and I took it for a drive, and we were both pretty impressed. Very quiet, very efficient. Maybe someday we'll have some electric stations and building and codes which go in and out and in and out. It's good for 240 miles.
I think Tesla was putting them up for just the advertising. They didn't charge for them, like the ones at the mall. I don't think anybody...
Well, I think there's grant wasn't so you can put them up for free, and then if we get 4 of those items...
Wasn't part of that installation of one of those?
Yeah, that's one of the items. And then they'll give you your grant money that you can use for environmental things, and we can buy a couple cars. Sticker price at $38. We have to go out to, well, we have to go out to bid and all that. I told him that was nice of Bob to be able to drop by and say, here, I want you to see what you're talking about. And that was great. I went to the Fives and Schmidt Gallery Open at the Hyde Museum on Saturday, June 10th. Sunday, I did the 5K BTAR Byway, which benefited the American Heart Association. And I also attended later that day the American Legion Flag Day. I want to thank Tony Garcia for helping of the American Legion Post 233 and the Sons of the American Legion Squad 233 for organizing that. Mike DeBray, even though he wasn't feeling well, still was there for them to be master of ceremonies. It was great music and great company. And then I went to the Lake Stewardship Cleverdale Group Social. It was a big day Sunday. Monday, June 12th, I did a site visit to investigate some poor drainage on the corner of Hickory Hollow Road and Stonewall Drive with Highway Superintendent Tom Van Ness and Foreman Scott Mabb. Talked to Westlands Falls EMS's Connie Gettard about a new ambulance contract and about IM responding software. Sent an email to City Engineer Steve Gersler regarding landfill properties, one of which is the town's. Cities wanted to know that, so I gave them that information. Reviewed proposals for the Buckbee Road culvert and set a meeting to discuss that matter further. We had a town board workshop that night. Marshall and Sterling, as I had mentioned, gave a presentation. PERMA gave a presentation on workers' comp. Dave Wick and others, Chris Nowitzki gave a talk on DEC grant C303899, which deals with salt mitigation. It's under the contract with the town, and they would very much like it if the town carried that on so they could do some salt mitigation. Warren County EDC gave a presentation about the economic benefits that they're trying to provide the town. Kathy Bozzoni gave us an update, and I agree with you. Working very well. We talked about grants for Rockhurst and trying to attain the shoreline database that Kathy's working on. We talked about Clean Energy Community Committee. We talked about property transfer law. We're making progress there. Not much progress with the manufactured homes issue because the wording to describe if something's going to be of the character of the existing neighborhood is just too vague for comfort levels. Our marina code is not working, especially for non-Lake George lakes, so we're working on that. There's a subdivision proposal, and so Stu Baker, who was here earlier tonight, our senior planner, is going to do a Highland PUD consistency analysis. We look at the latest Halfway Brook Trail Agreement, which is basically the same as the previous one with some small tweaking. We took a look at the occupancy tax distribution, and we got what I thought was a consensus for the Civic Center, Great Escape, Blenchville Symphony, Lakes to Locks, Warren County Historical Society, and the Hyde Museum. Tuesday, attended some SUNY Adirondack meetings. Wednesday, a Chapman meeting, County Finance, County Board of Supervisors meeting Wednesday. Thursday, June 15th, attended and gave a welcoming address at the Hudson Valley Firemen's Association's convention opening meeting, hosted by the West Glens Falls Fire Company. And I want to thank Chris Kilmartin and Chief Jeff Daly and the West Glens Falls Fire Company crew. It's a huge effort. They all chipped in, and it was very successful. And I talked to some of the folks who were here up and down the Hudson, and they loved the area, and they thought that West Glens Falls Fire Company did a great job in organizing the event. Also sat down with Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council, Barton LaJudas, to take a look at the Queensbury Aviation Road access, operations, and analysis. It's basically the same as we discussed before. We took a look at the alternatives, and the most successful alternative seems to be to do a combination of the three things. Phase one, let's put in the new electronics and the new equipment and that signal in front of the church and the school's main entrance. We've been delaying putting anything in there because we want to make sure that whatever we put in there doesn't get thrown in the garbage because it didn't work with phases 2 and 3. So we needed to develop phase 2 and 3 conceptually, and then we can put in the equipment with the assurance it's going to work with phases 2 and 3. Now, phase 2 is putting in a right-hand turning lane for the westbound traffic on Aviation Road to go into the school's main entrance, which is the one in front of the school. Okay, that's phase 2. Phase 1 is to put new equipment into the traffic signal there, which we'll be able to do almost immediately. So you won't have to get those phone calls after August. Phase 3 is a possible new entryway to the school for the westbound traffic or the eastbound traffic to enter the west entrance to the school grounds. If you do all three of those phases, even at the worst, AM and PM peaks, it doesn't go below a level C in the next 10 years. All right, your level of service, or LOS we call, goes from A, B, C, D, E, and F. All right, A is excellent, B is good, C is okay, D is fair. E means that you're now reaching capacity and there are problems and you need to do something about it. F is it's failing. And right now there are times when the intersection there with the school is at F. As you all know, those of you that use that in the AM and PM peaks. All right, so we have a solution we're going to be working on, starting immediately with the replacement of the electronics in the signal. Also went to a Warren County Historical Society gala, a fundraiser held at the Seal House next to Crandall Park. They have done a fantastic job fixing up that beautiful old house here at Crandall Park. Then had another fundraiser, the Lyman Beeman Golf Tournament, and we won. My team won the highest score. But we won. And that night I had an archaeology meeting. Saturday was the anniversary, June 17th, of the death of Joseph Warren. And I did the Run for Ages, and I want to thank Bill Tackett, Tackett Chiropractic, and the benefit of that 5K was Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Glenswell Seniors. I then I was a division marshal at the Hudson Valley Firemen's Association Convention Dress Parade. Huge amounts of folks attended. And again, West Glens Falls Volunteer Fire Department, Chris Kilmartin and Jeff Daly and all the folks in the fire department did a great job. There was about 100 fire companies there. And it was also the day of the hazardous, Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, which I hear was successful. And then today, we had county meetings this morning and town board meeting tonight. And that does it for what I have to say. Wake up.
Could I add one thing?
Yes.
You were talking about the traffic up at school, Queensbury, and exit 19. I had a phone call today from somebody, and she said that the traffic, because they've taken out that second left-hand turning lane there on exit 19, was down through the light and in front of the Golden Corral.
Yeah.
That's how long the traffic was because they've taken that out. And I told her that it's the state that has made that change. But I thought maybe we ought to send a little letter to them and suggest that maybe they...
We're in regular conversations with them.
Good.
I've noticed people are starting to turn left anyway from that lane. I mean, they'll sit right there and wait for the light to change and turn left from that lane anyway, so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
right.
they're going to tweak a few things, and one of the things is they have a turning arrow. And what they want to do now is just put a turning arrow, and I guess the new thing is a turning arrow flashing, meaning if there's no opposition traffic, you can still go ahead and take a left. Rather than that particularly designated time where the arrow's going. I don't know if this is going to work. They mentioned that they have their cameras on this. I said, well, do you have your cameras on Route 9? Because they're backing up there. And so, yeah, so we're in regular conversation with them over this matter.
I think they fixed something that wasn't broken, that's the problem.
Yeah, well.
Get a hold of Danny Speck.
I didn't say that.
He's got some control there.
But I understand he's the one that started. Okay. Jesus. Anything else for the good of the earth?
Thank you.
All right. Anything? All right. Thank you all for coming. I would like to thank Look TV and Joel Barlow and our sponsors, Sport Tech. And motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Made by Councilman Clements, second by Councilman Irish. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.